What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment, IG, TikTok, bottom of the video, and we're just gonna hop right into it. So today we will be talking about YBT from the 83 Babies. So YBT sadly passed away within the last week. He was unfortunately unalived inside his vehicle in Durham on North Roxborough Street. And we just gonna hop right into it. So obviously, another one of North Carolina stories usually give you on Monday. I felt like this is one I really had to talk about because it just fit what's going on this channel. If you are unfamiliar with YBT, YBT was a member of the 83 Babies, was the group, the biggest song. I mean, if you from the RDU area, well, I just say North Carolina in general, you probably heard It Ain't No Cap in My Rap. And then, Rich the Kid got on it. Then Rich the Kid ended up signing them. So it was three of them in 83 Babies. You have YBT, you have Set It Off, and you had Lil Tony. One, if you clicked on this video, you probably were already familiar with YBT. So you probably have heard, you may have heard his music, but that no Cap in My Rap. Okay, but that No Cap in My Rap song was very viral. It was huge everywhere. And like I said, Rich the Kid even hopped on it. And that was a time where his career was real up. Where shit went left a couple months after this is about 2019, and my man Lil Tony was still spinning. And that ended up getting him in trouble. So hopping into Lil Tony, we're actually going to read the thing straight from justice.gov. That's how serious this was. Well, they're saying incidents led up to Lil Tony, everything he did. They said on August 14th, 2019, rival gang members assaulted Davenport at the streets of South Point Mall in Durham. So Davenport is Lil Tony. They're going to mention Dixon as well. They're just saying he was another member of, well, they say the 8 Trey Gangster Crips. I felt like that was pretty self-explanatory for the 83. You may have not known, you may not be into stuff like that, but I feel like that was pretty self-explanatory for the 83. First, let me say that they also accused them of trafficking drugs, committing bank frauds, and intimidating witnesses. We'll get into the real crime that got them in trouble in a few minutes. Like I said, back on there, Davenport and Dixon then conspired with fellow gang members, including Devil Nige Magwood, 24, also known as Paco, to retaliate. On the evening of August 14, 2019, Dixon, Magwood, and others committed a drive-by shooting in South Durham. So they were saying that was the retaliation, but this is what actually got them in trouble. So in the days following, Davenport exchanged threatening messages with the rival gang member on Instagram, messages with fellow gang members plotting revenge. On Sunday, August 18, 2019, Davenport, Dixon, and Magwood drove to an area in North Durham they knew to be frequented by rival gang members. Davenport was armed with a 9mm handgun, Dixon with a .40 caliber handgun, and Magwood with the assault-style 7.62mm pistol. At approximately the same time, 8:30, 9-year-old Zion Person was riding in the aunt's car with 4 other children on their way to get snow cones. Davenport, Dixon, and Magwood misidentified the car as rival gang members, specifically the car used by the individual with whom Davenport had exchanged the threatening Instagram messages with the day before. Davenport then follows the car down Leon Street to the intersection at North Duke and slowed as he passed. He and Dixon opened fire on the car, discharging at least 9mm rounds and a 17.40 caliber rounds, hitting the car multiple times. 2 bullets pierced the window that Zion Pearson was sitting next to, where he struck his head and killed. His 8-year-old cousin sitting next to him was struck in the arm. At the time, Davenport was wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor because of pending domestic violence charges. The location data placed him at the murder scene, as well as Dixon and Magwood's homes prior to the shooting and following it. At the locations relevant to the planning and the cover-up, a surveillance camera at middle school captured Davenport's Honda as it followed the victim's car immediately prior to the shooting. Shortly after the murder, Davenport said to have his car painted black. Investigators recovered a 9mm handgun from Davenport's girlfriend's car, and forensic firearm examination linked the handgun to the murder.
Breaking news in the last 30 minutes. A local rapper found guilty of murdering a 9-year-old boy in Durham. Chris Levengood's in our newsroom now. And Chris, WRL Durham reporter Sarah Kruger has been following this story since the beginning.
Joe, she has, and she's trying to speak with jurors right now because that guilty verdict was announced within minutes. But while she's doing that, here's a quick refresher. Antonio Davenport is the 27-year-old who was found guilty of killing 9-year-old Zion Person in 2019. Davenport was found guilty on all federal charges, including murder and racketeering. Person was getting snow cones with his family when the SUV they were in was shot at. And that's because Davenport's gang, the 83 Babies, were targeting their rivals.
So They say Dixon pled guilty on May 11, 2021 in federal court to one count of conspiracy to commit acts of racketeering and one count of violent crime, that is murder in the aid of racketeering. Davenport was convicted on July 7, 2022 after a jury trial of one count of a violent crime, that is murder in aid of racketeering, one count of a discharge of a firearm in relation to a crime of violence, and one count of a discharge of a firearm during in retaliation to the crime of causing death. Whew. So, obviously that's pretty heavy. You misidentified a car. You end up killing a 9-year-old and also striking an 8-year-old. Luckily, 8-year-old got struck in the arm with no non-life-threatening injuries. But like I said, sad situation. Kids don't get to live their lives just because of simple gun and gang violence that they had nothing to do with. Obviously, if you and another person got something going on, especially as a grown man, I can respect that, and you feel like you need to do what you need to do. But when getting bystanders and hitting kids, that's crazy. That pretty much start leading to the fall off of the 83 Babies. From there, you then begin to see YBT try to push his own solo music. Set It Off as well. Set It Off had, like, I would say, the biggest buzz out of all three solo. Yeah, because at a point, it was a wave. You had Get Rich, Set It Off. They both kind of cooled down at this point, but at a certain point, they was, really buzzing, and Set It Off was definitely up there with that. But Set It Off can really rap. I fuck with some of his music. So, hopefully, he's still relevant. So, hopefully he can, try to get that shit back jumping. But they have all spoke, multiple times, really on that On the Porch. The background people, both of them, had interviews on there, and they spoke about, led to the fall off. YBT, he discussed basically, being in, he discussed the situation they were in, like they were, really, like, their life was really taking off, talking about being Johnny Dang and all kind of people. He said he ended up feeling uncomfortable, with how things were going and how they was hanging around.
And it went from there. The next thing I know, we got them in LA and shit with them, kicking it. In the studio with motherfuckers, big artists, Meat Mill, goddamn. It's hella people, but yeah, we end up getting signed and shit later on.
Yeah, how would you describe your time being signed to Atlantic, right?
Yeah. At the time, it was a happy moment, I ain't gonna lie, you feel me? I don't know, shit just weird vibes and shit. But yeah, you were happy because that check, you feel me? When that check hit, it was all good, I ain't gonna lie.
To get into the specifics of what happened to YBT, his real name is Tevin Burney. He was, they haven't released a lot of details about it. So, but he was riding in a car on North Roxborough Street. If you're from Durham, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I actually think I know the exact intersection from this picture from the times I spent in Durham. But he was riding with another man, Jared Godfrey, and it was a woman also in the vehicle. She suffered non-life-threatening injuries, so glad that she survived and okay. But him and Jared Godfrey end up succumbing to their injuries.
How can we reduce violent crime in Durham? It's the question city and county leaders and community members are actively trying to answer. But it seems the solution can't come fast enough as lives continue to be changed by gun violence. Yet another scene of a violent crime in Durham. 3 people found in a car on Roxborough Street. 2 dead and 1 injured, all with gunshot wounds.
And, we probably, in the future may find out what happens then. But police at this time have not released a lot of detail. So it's sad to see that a once promising career definitely ended like this. It's also sad to see that, Set It Off started this thing with 2 other individuals, and now he's really the last one standing. He spoke about this on Instagram. Like I said, obviously Lil Tony's in jail for the rest of his life, and YBT is not really here with us anymore. So he made a post. What he said is, they want to know how I feel. Well, I'll say this. I never thought I'd be the last man standing. We were on the way to generational wealth. We changed NC, not just Durham. Shit went downhill, but I'll never wish life in prison or death on any man, especially not the 2 I brought in the game with me. We ain't get it right because of that fat bitch you was always with, but it ain't changed. I love you. I love you, little cuz. Even if it was from a distance, because I know them niggas won't like that you was running with. So to YBT, get your rest, cuz forever 83 babies. Also with this Reddit post, they were also trying to say that YBT had money on his head. But yeah, bro, that's really as much as far as we can go. Like I said, don't really want to be on some crazy nut shit. But that was really everything they have really put out by YBT. Obviously, I just want to talk about his career a little bit and how we got here. But at this moment in time, we don't really have any real details about it. So we don't know what's really going on, but it's definitely sad, like I said earlier, to see what once, looked like could have been a very promising career. Just go down the drain like this. And hopefully, set it off, can use this as motivation in a good bad situation. And, yeah. So that's really all I got to say, though. So like, share, subscribe, comment, IG, TikTok, bottom video, and we out.